split time between the Royals and Yankees last year. Interesting offensive season. Career low in home runs with only 5, but career bests in batting average, hit 304. On base percentage, 373. He was a little bit more than a 3-win player last year. Was an all-star, but it was the Royals' lone representative, so it was kind of a charitable all-star selection, but obviously has ties to Pedro Grifol. Pretty interesting signing and the largest investment that the White Sox have ever given in terms of total value of a contract, and a bigger investment, I think, than anyone expected them to make. And last thing, at least for me, I think it pretty much solidifies you're going to see a ton of Eloy at DH, right? Not going to see nearly as much of him as a lot of people were thinking / fearing in left field.
This is a left fielder. Don't let the gold glove fool you. He's not a great left fielder. Doesn't have a strong arm. Not a ton of range out there, but solid, and it's left field. He's not a right fielder, so let's get that out of the way. He's not somebody that you want to see out there. But boy, a few things here. Real good fit for the lineup. This is a lefty bat who puts the ball in play a lot. This is not a strikeout or nothing guy. The power has gone down the last few years for Benintendi, but the contact has gone up. And the batting average is one thing, but just his contact rates and those numbers have gone up. Very desirable when you have a lineup full of home run or nothing guys. So, he'll be a nice addition. I bet he'll hit second. I bet it's going to be, if Tim Anderson's here, it'll be TA1 and Benintendi 2. And then you'll see what kind of power guys you want to put after that. But having righty-lefty contact bats at the top of the order gives you a chance to have a different kind of offensive profile. That's exciting, and that's been something that's necessary. And the other part about Benintendi, I've known a lot about this guy for a long time. That's a first-round pick for the Red Sox in 2015. He and Mookie Betts came up together, and, really, he was a two-hitter behind Mookie Betts for a while. I mean, they make a World Series run in 2018, and Benintendi's a huge part of it, and is a two-hitter for the most part on a World Series team. And there was a while there where it was like, you want Benintendi or you want Betts? Like, it was talked about, they were talked about in similar terms. And obviously Benintendi's star has faded, but the offensive uptick as a contact bat is notable, and it's I think it's going to be a real good fit in that lineup. You're not going to get a ton of pop, but contact and putting the ball in play is going to sit well with a lot of people.
Shane, Tanny, White Sox fans, how we feeling?
Yeah, this is a really good thing. This is a moment of empowerment for Rick. I've been told that he wanted Andrew Benintendi in the draft over Carson Fulmer. Like, he got his guy. Rick went out there and got the guy that he wanted, and it's a legit outfielder. They saw a need, and they addressed it. And Rick got to pick the one that he wanted to pick.
Tanny?
Yeah, I know White Sox fans, we can get mad about a lot of things and we will find the negative in anything, but I think this is a pretty positive signing here for the White Sox. It's hard to get upset for a guy who had a 373 OBP last season added to your team, and because of all the things that Speaks mentioned, what he does for the dynamics of your lineup. I do like, I can only judge them on this move because there's still other moves that need to be made. Like, I guess, like, the one thing I would say, or wonder, I should say, is you still need a right fielder because, as Speaks alluded to, this is not a guy that can, play both corner spots, So I wonder where the payroll is going to come to find a right fielder, or if they're just going to do the Gavin Sheets platoon situation there. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm a little surprised.
Colas, right?
Colas.
Yeah, that's the thing that we haven't really talked about this week, but it looks like that's becoming more evident, and Shane was ahead of that one earlier this summer when he was speculated about that. So that would be interesting. So you'd have, in theory, a lot of left-handed bats in your lineup that could help you. They still need a second baseman. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good signing for the White Sox here. I am surprised by the years because this contract will outlast pretty much anyone that's on the current core, I believe. So I don't know what that means, but the fact that they committed 5 years to him, I think that's curious to me. But yeah, your newest, highest paid White Sox of all time.
I think
Andrew
this
Benintendi,
is what,
just like we drew it up.
Yeah,
this is what an Andrew Benintendi overpay looks like in a market that is filled with overpays. And maybe it's more in length than anything, because I think you could actually argue for the $15 million a year being sensible, even though there's not a ton of power there. If you did the math on what, one WAR goes for these days and did it that way. But it definitely is a lefty bat that is going to put the ball in play, which will buy you some patience for a guy like Colas. It'll buy you a little patience for some other things that you might want to try, because you're putting a proven big league hitter out there. Don't you think the focus for this new hitting coach and hitting regime, especially with the power guys, is going to be to let them try to unleash and really be power guys? Like, there were a lot of singles last year, but there were mixed messages and stuff going on. I think they're really going to try to get power out of their power guys, while this guy and TA kind of naturally helps you diversify a lineup. That's the goal anyway.
Just some advanced numbers. I'm reading a story that compiled some stuff from him on Bleacher Report. He noticeably outperformed his expected batting average last year, which was 273, because he had the 7th highest BABIP of hitters with at least 500 plate appearances. His batting average with balls in play was 352. But he did strike out the lowest rate of his career, only 14.8% strikeout rate. Had his fewest percentage of balls in play to right field at 30%. His highest percentage it's center field at 41%. He talked about it in an interview with The Athletic's Eno Saris. This is a quote from the new White Sox outfielder Andrew Benintendi. My approach right now is realizing I'm not going to hit 35 homers. It's getting on base, be a tough out, see pitches, use the whole field. This year, it finally came together. Playing in Kauffman Stadium, too, it's not easy to hit a ball out there. Just spraying the ball all over the field. It was more just approach, trying to go straight right field, and then you're susceptible to an off-speed pitch. I'm trying to go straight up the middle, and if you're early, you're early. If you're late, you've still got the left field line. End quote.
There you go. That's a real hitter. That is a guy who's willing to spray it all over. Good numbers in there to go with that quote. So good stuff. That there was the lowest percentage of balls to right field. He's not a pull or nothing guy. If you're one of those people who has enjoyed kind of the spray to all fields approach of some of the high contact Cleveland Guardians, and you've been like, man, why don't we have some guys like that? This is a guy that will hit all over the place in a ballpark and give you good contact skills and will take the most of opportunities when contact matters.
And to what Danny said, that quote, like we talked about last year, the number one thing they needed was more home runs. So this seems like it's going to contradict everything. But what they really need was guys that were not giving away at bats, first and foremost. And that type of stuff, when you add a guy like that to your lineup who's going to be a tough out, like the quote said, that stuff is infectious right there. I really believe that hitting is contagious, and not giving away at bats, grinding out an at bat, grinding out a starting pitcher so you can get to the bullpen in the first game of a series so they can be depleted by the third game. Like, that's the stuff that helps you win baseball games. He may not hit a lot of home runs, but he will, allow other guys behind him to, in theory, hit more home runs because, he'll wear out the pitchers a little bit and make, pitchers may make more mistakes with guys behind him. So I like it from that angle as well.
I think Shane's point, that is obviously, I think Shane's point is really important. So speak a little more on it to whatever level you can, Shane. It's like, if this is a guy that Rick wanted, let's think about that in terms of offensive profile. Let's think about that in terms of the expenditure, and a guy to play outfield who is an outfielder, not playing out of position. So, and that's a big deal, because if Rick gave up some control on some of the coaching staff, which we know he did, if he gave up control on some other things, being able to get a guy he wants is a big, big deal.